car, Tom. Nice house. What's not so nice is you owe Pennsylvania $4,212 in back taxes. Listen, Tom, we can make this easy. Pay online by June 18th, and we'll skip your penalty and take half off your interest. Because, Tom, we do know who you are. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. We do know who you are. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. We do know who you are. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. We do know who you are. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. Your name is Tom. We do know who you are.
Number 5 is, why do you collect Star Wars merchandise instead of other things? Well, because when back in '78, I never wanted to go see Star Wars, but my uncle said it had a dinosaur in it, so I went and was just hooked. And we had to wait a while for the Star Wars figures to come out, and when they did, they were my favourite toys as a kid, and I just had a lot of fun playing with those little bits of plastic, you know. You had to use your imagination, and I think maybe there's a certain nostalgia looking back to childhood times that you just want those times when life was so much more, you know, all you had to worry about was what you did with your free time, really, rather than when you're an adult and you've got all the sort of burdens of adult life, which is stuff like mortgage, keeping a job, and, you know, all the economic woes that we're living in with the moment. Okay, next question, number 6, says, do you collect other things? Well, not really. I mean, I've got a few Star Trek. Oops, dare I say Star Trek? Well, I've got a few Star Trek figures. Not many, but I've got the best of them would be the German boxed Playmates figures. Number 7, is it just for fun or is it an investment? You tell yourself it's an investment, but you do it for the nostalgia, for having those items carded and unopened, and because they just look great. I mean, the vintage Star Wars figures just look amazing. So, you know, and that's proved by the fact that in 2010, 2011, and slightly earlier as well, that modern figures have been placed on such cards. Even now, people that run around in the 70s can buy these cards with modern figures, and it's because of the sort of the visual perfection that these cards are that people want to collect them, because having a large photo and the Star Wars logo and the Kenner logo or Palitoy logo, whatever, it just brings back all the memories for people of my generation. And even if you weren't born then, youngsters still give their thumbs up for these vintage looking cards. That's why the 2010 2011 vintage line has been so successful. If you could have any Star Wars related collectible, what would it be? Well, there's quite a few things. I mean, you could say the vinyl cake Jawa, the carded telescoping Vader, Luke and Ben. I mean, they're probably the most valuable figures. Totoy's carded figure, because Totoy's is Australian and that just never appears in England. I managed this year to get just a card back from 1980s Empire Strikes Back Totoy's card, and that's about as much success as I've had there. Okay, question 9 says, do you have any advice for collectors just starting out on carded figures? Well, I'd just say choose what you like. There's just so much stuff that it's really hard just to know where to begin. If you're going to start with vintage figures, there's still bargains to be had, but with vintage figures, most dealers now know that the numbers out there are limited, so they tend to be a bit pricey, especially with AFA now. That sort of makes things a lot more pricey as well. If you're going to collect modern stuff, then you just got to know where to begin. You've got Power of the Force, you've got Saga Blue, you've got Saga to OTC, then you've got so many things to collect. TAC 30th anniversary collection. So just choose what you like. Maybe just stick to a few certain characters. Like I've focused at times on Princess Leia and on Han Solo, the original Luke as well, the Farm Boy Luke. Any of those 12 back figures I really go for. So you just go collect what you like really, and obviously you're going to be limited by your budget. So that's my advice for you, is just to stick to what you like. You're very rarely going to complete a whole collection. I mean, I work out I've got about between 250 and 300 vintage carded figures, and that's just a drop in the ocean in terms of the number of vintage figures you've got out there, because you've got all the Palitoy, you've got all the Lily Lede, which are really hard to get in England. You've got the Harbert, you've got the Meccano figures, and all the Tri-logos as well, plus all the Kenner US cards. Okay, number 10, question 10 says, what resources do you use for information? Websites, price guides? Well, the best out there is Action Figure News, which is from Lee's Action Figure News, which is harder to get in the UK now. Brian's Toys, that's good for seeing if you getting a bargain or not. Rebel Scum, the Star Wars Collectors Archive, books, there's loads of books. There's Kellerman, there's a couple of German price guides that you can get in the UK, they're pretty good. The prices are a bit out of date though, so I mean, that's the problem. So I mean, you just more or less, if you're in the hobby for quite a while, you just pick up a good head for knowledge, and whether the price is good or not, and whether it's worth bidding for on eBay or not. So I mean, just now I was